All right, everybody, welcome to Answer the Call. I think we're on episode 9. We're almost in double digits already, which is really, really cool. For those of you guys that don't know what Answer the Call is, it is a podcast about Star Citizen, but we do a little different than most podcasts out there that have, multiple guests and talk about kind of the news of the week in Star Citizen. In this one, we talk about a single topic, usually related to gameplay design, how we want the game to end up, where we think the direction of the game is going, things like that. Topics where they can be polarized, where people can be on one side or the other, or somewhere in between, and have a discussion about it. So this week's discussion is, how will Star Citizen stay relevant for 10 plus years? Now we're going to start out with, that has been something that Chris Roberts and a lot of the other devs have said is a goal of theirs. They want this game to be alive and kicking and a powerful game in the MMO or video game genre or universe out there, as one of the top games that's playable, fun, an enjoyable experience for many, many years. And they've mentioned 10 plus years multiple times. Now, so with that, that's kind of where the premise of 10 plus years is coming from. When I've mentioned what this topic was in previous days before starting the show, we got a lot of people saying DLC, ship sales, Omega Lull. Will the game even be out in 10 years? A lot of like kind of funny stuff like that. But the kind of direction that I want to take the topic in is more on the gameplay design side of it. What kind of gameplay are they going to put in the game to make it enjoyable for 10 plus years? That's what I mean by relevancy. A replayability, a game where you're going to have a lot of people playing. It's going to be alive. You're not going to hear people saying dead game, or at least a lot of people saying dead game. You know, every game has their guy saying dead game, by the way, and stuff like that, you know? But we know what elements of gameplay we have in game right now, right? And a lot of what's coming in the future. We have mining, we have cargo hauling, which is, bring this stuff from here to there. It's fairly dynamic. I don't think there's enough cargo to haul or enough people cargo hauling to really see the change in prices too much. We have missions with mission givers that are always in the same spot that give similar types of missions. And we have some PvP elements. We also have some PvE elements, right? But a lot of those are go here, experience this, come back, or go to another place, right? Now, there's, as far as I'm aware, and this is something where I don't have that many video game experiences. I haven't played a lot of games. The way I play games is I get really excited about one, and I get obsessed with it, and I play that game to the end of time. I played Ultima Online for 17 years and really didn't play any other games at all during that time. So for me, I haven't experienced a lot of video games. So for me, there's two types of MMOs, and Star Citizen is planned to be an MMO. A theme park MMO, which has, linear progression. You start here, then you go there, then you go here, and then you go there. And a sandbox MMO, where you can kind of go anywhere, do anything, and you have a lot more, you can place a lot more of a stamp on the universe in the game. Star Citizen seems like a solid combination of the two of those things, where you can kind of go anywhere and do whatever, but there's a lot of situations where it's go here and experience this, and go there to experience that. And that's kind of what we have in game right now. Now, I want to discuss what we would like to see in the future of the game to try and make it more relevant, because I don't think anyone can disagree with me right now that the current gameplay that's in game doesn't support a long-term replayability factor. I think the devs feel the same way. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. So, where would you like to see the direction of the game go? Would you like to see it more sandboxy? For an example, like Eve? Or would you like to see it more theme park style, like WoW? Obviously, we don't have skills like WoW where you would be in a low level area or a high level area, but we do expect to see kind of safe areas that are lower risk, unsafe areas that are higher risk with higher rewards, right? So it's sort of there, all right? But yeah, so I kind of want to hear your opinions on things. For me, I want to see more sandbox elements than what I'm hearing from CIG and what we're already getting in game. I want to see a lot more sandbox. I think with the fact that we're going to be owning land on moons and planets, potentially owning factories or space stations, which is something that was part of the stretch goals in the game. I want to see a lot more sandbox elements to the game where we get to, stamp our place in the universe of Star Citizen a lot more. We know there's certain sandboxy elements, like you can find a jump point and name it after yourself, things like that, right? So I want to hear the direction and maybe hear some examples of sandbox elements that you would like to see in the game, or theme park elements that you would like to see in the game, because I think we're going to have a combination of both. I think when there's in-game elements or in-game events, that it will feel a lot of like theme parky, where if I go to this area, I'm going to experience this kind of event, maybe a vandal fight, so on, so forth, right? So I'm going to open up the calls to you. I kind of wanted to do a short intro today and kind of leave things up to you and have a discussion. Now, we did add something new, and I want to get your opinions on it as well. There's going to be a little audio visualizer that pops up when the guys talk. It won't be there when they don't talk, but it will be there when they do. Thank you to Sideslide for the help with that. So, and as well as Sunday of Doom, who kind of popped in Discord and helped me configure it. But it was Sideslide's idea to use something in particular. So, all right, we're going to bring in our first caller, and our first caller is Unmatched. I think he's a first-time caller to the show as well. Unmatched, welcome to answer the call, man.
Hello. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing real good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be on my answer the call for the first time ever. I'm really excited about this topic right now.
You sound really excited, man.
Yeah, because I believe I have a lot of MMO experience that makes, my opinion relevant.
Perfect.
So, yes, I've been playing MMOs since I was like 12 or so. Nice. With the start of RuneScape. It's a little known game.
People know RuneScape for sure, man. My brother plays RuneScape still. He loves it.
Yeah, I do too. But I also have over 150 days in World of Warcraft too.
Okay, cool.
So how should we start this? You said that you want to focus on what's going to keep Star Citizen relevant as in gameplay.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when you talk about that too, not only does gameplay come to mind, but there's also one other thing that comes to mind. I would like to get into both of those topics that popped in my head when you. All right, so the first thing that makes a game relevant, like the thing that it's a topic that's always been on my mind. I've even asked you guys questions when you do redacted before. I did the send a message in and stuff like that on this topic. You guys talked about it, but the first thing that I would think would make a game stay relevant is its payment model. And I believe that if Star Citizen were to stay relevant for 10 years, it has to have a good payment model. And I believe that the payment model should be subscription based.
Okay. And so obviously you're talking about like ISK in EVE, or like gold, like people buy subscriptions with gold in WoW, right? Like you could do it you can do it in game as well as out of game.
Yeah, yes.
Man, people are gonna freak out.
Yeah, I understand. But I don't really agree with having to trade in-game money for game time, but it's a necessary thing now because basically what spawns up when you don't have that is like $1 million black market industries, and I've seen it happen in both WoW and in RuneScape. So I think the selling of game time for in-game money, it's a necessary evil, if you want to say that. But the reason why I think subscription based is necessary is because, for one thing, you don't have to have CIG, cutting out certain parts of the game, in order to sell it to us. They won't need to sell skins or whatever like that. If they have stable income, they could just focus on just developing the game, instead of saying, oh, we're gonna keep that skin to sell it on a shop later, or we're gonna cut out this part of the game, or we're gonna try to sell you patches or whatever. You know what I'm saying? With a subscription model, they know the money is coming in, and they don't have to focus on trying to milk the consumer. On top of that, we get better focused content and stuff like that. You don't have to, they don't have to sell booster packs or sell in-game ships. Imagine if you're playing and you're grinding up to our hammerhead, but Joe Smo over there, he plopped down $600 because CIG sells the hammerhead when it comes out of concept for a certain amount of months. And he blows you up with his hammerhead when you're trying to earn your way up to getting a hammerhead, but he just spent in-game cash for it. You know what I'm saying? There wouldn't be any need for that if there's a subscription base. You get what I'm saying?
I definitely get what you're saying, and I'll start with this. CIG believes and has funded the game with the basis that they would never go to a subscription model. So we'll start with that, right? But I don't disagree with you necessarily, because in my opinion, the way that they plan on funding the game, as far as we know up to this date, I don't necessarily believe that they will be able to fund the game based just off of selling gold in game for currency, right? Or for real money or whatever. Selling in-game currency. I don't think that can necessarily hold the progression of the game that we may want to see, because we also know the fact that they're going to release the game in a state that we didn't expect it to be released in, not with 100 planets, all in their minimum viable product is going to be much smaller than originally anticipated in terms of the actual scale of the universe, right? But at the same time, they've funded it this way. How? And I really want to get away from this topic as soon as possible and go to gameplay, because I think that this show is just going to turn into how should Star Citizen fund the game show, and I don't really want it to go there. But I definitely see where you're going. Final
thoughts.
Yeah, because it matters, because it affects it affects the gameplay as well. It matters. So go ahead and get your final thoughts in on it, and then go towards gameplay if you want to do that.
Gameplay, yeah.
Yeah.
So my final thoughts on this topic is that the thing that makes that makes me say that my opinion is relevant, because I've played these video games, because I've also watched both of these games died. I've watched the original WoW die. Now they're moving to WoW Classic, and I've watched RuneScape die. RuneScape, it's basically two games now. It's RuneScape 3 and Old School RuneScape.
Yep.
Old School RuneScape is now more successful than RuneScape 3, which is the original game. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm saying a subscription model is better, and
they were.
Old School RuneScape is that the proof of that. Now World of Warcraft is copying them, which is turning basically making a game for the old people. They're making World of Warcraft Classic now. Everybody's hoping that they don't put microtransactions in it. You know what I'm saying? So Old School RuneScape is my it's my holy grail to show that this game needs to be a subscription-based game, and at the worst part be like, you could turn the subscriptions, you could buy subscription tokens and sell them in game for real life, for in-game cash. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's my final thing, is that RuneScape, Old School RuneScape just hit all-time high of 150,000 in-game players, concurrent in-game players, just 2 weeks ago, and it's just a subscription-based game. A lot of people are leaving RuneScape 3 to come to old school RuneScape, and that's why I feel so,
and 150,000 in a old game like that. Like, a lot of people in the Twitch chat are being like saying you don't really know what you're talking about. And if the thing is if those numbers are true, that's a lot of players. That's a lot of concurrent players.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot of concurrent players. All right, so let's go to the gameplay part.
Before you do you mind if I'm lucky. I'm the host, so I get to get the last word, just because. I definitely see where you're coming from, and I prefer subscription-based models over non-subscription-based models personally.
Yeah,
but we are in the age of microtransactions. It's unavoidable. I think CIG is. I don't think CIG is going to switch to that model as much as you would like it to be there. And to be honest, as much as I would like it to be there, I prefer a subscription model over anything for the same reasons that you do, is that they're not going to have to take away any content from anybody because the subscriptions should cover it. They don't have to go out and sell you anything because the subscriptions to the game that is already fun should cover it. But we're in the age of microtransactions. These guys are going to sell skins for this, that, and the other thing, most likely, and that's just where we're at. And I think we just kind of, unfortunately, we're going to have to accept that. I wonder if one day they may, and I hope they go about it the right way and say, "Hey guys, we thought it would work. It didn't. We think the subscription model will work. We hope you guys would like to take part in it. Whatever, But if that's the case, I would still go with a subscription. I think if people are enjoying the game, I think most of them will as well. But we'll see. Right. We'll see what happens. Go ahead with what kind of gameplay do you want to see? What kind of gameplay engages you in MMOs, since you have a lot of MMO experience?
The thing that I would say has a wide appeal is, first of all, CIG has to know their audience. They have to know who their audience is, who they're trying to appeal to. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know your audience, you're gonna just be flailing around in the dark, hoping you hit the mark or something like that.
Who is CIG's audience?
That's for the more of them to figure out themselves. I can't really say. I could offer some some advice to them. It's just that, to me, it's the people that makes an MMO are the hardcore players. The people that will bring you in most of the money are the casual players. You know what I'm saying? But for your game to actually become relevant, you have to bring in the hardcore, because they're the ones on Reddit. They're the vocal people. They're the ones saying that your game is really good. They're gonna bring in the casual players, and those casuals, they're gonna go to moderate. They're gonna go to hardcore, and that's where you have a sustainable fan base. You get what I'm saying?
Of course. I think, personally, I think that their fan base is old school Wing Commander players and a lot of EVE online guys and a lot of MMO players and people that have found Elite Dangerous. They're space and sci-fi fans. They're older players. So they're people that experienced EVE. They're just like you, people that played Ultima Online like me, RuneScape, things like older MMO gamers. I don't think right now the audience is not that younger audience. I think we will get that younger audience in the future, but so that's why I kind of mentioned I'd like to see the more sandboxy stuff, because I think a lot of the community in EVE is waiting for Star Citizen to come along.
Yeah, I actually got kicked from a fleet and banned from their channel in EVE because I was talking about Star Citizen, but they weren't too open-minded about it. You know what I'm saying?
They're on the scam side.
Yeah, they're on the scam side. But all right, so going to gameplay, I believe that the gameplay definitely does have to have a grind to it. It has to have a grind to where you feel like you're making progress every time you put a significant amount of hours into the game. It has to be, you have to feel invested into the game, and you won't feel invested in the game unless you work for something. All right,
absolutely.
If something is handed to you, you won't feel emotionally invested for it. You wouldn't care for it. You know what I'm saying? It's like real life. If you were given money, it's not worth much to you. But if you worked hard for that money, you're gonna it's gonna have blood, sweat, and tears attached to it. Just like in a game, if you work for something in the game, you're gonna feel more and more invested into the game. You're gonna you're gonna be like, oh, look at my Phoenix. I worked so hard for the Phoenix, instead of, oh, I spent 2 hours to get this Phoenix. I don't care. I'm just gonna go smash it into somebody else on a landing pad. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I think the gameplay has to drift more towards you have to work towards what you have to get. It has to have a certain bit of grind to it. That's why I'm okay with the certain with the high prices that I see on ships right now, because as long as the game, but the gameplay has to be good. It can't be super repetitive. You know what I'm saying? It has to be slightly enjoyable. You have to leave room to allow people to come in, so you could, because no game only they become super real good when you have friends involved. And that's what they have to when you're doing these missions or you're doing grinds. You have to CIG has to have allow you the ability to bring in friends, so you could make memories with these people. That's at least for me, that's what's going to make be the bread and butter of the game. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, for sure.
When I try to step into Star Citizen by myself, it's not even as close as fun as when I'm hopping, like saying, a streamer's like Cidero's channel and play along with him.
Whoa!
So
Don't go promoting other streamers here. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right. But yeah, I agree with you when you say that the game has to be a sandbox, because theme park, I don't think it works out. Give me when you say the word theme park, it just reminds me of World of Warcraft, and
Yes.
I cringe a little bit, especially the way that game died. I literally saw the moment it died. I remember the certain moments that game died. Like when I first saw the Celestial Steed come in game, and I was looking at this guy, I was like, you pop $25 to thing that, and then next thing you know, they started homogenizing all the classes, making them the same. All classes had a healing spell. All classes, they make the game less immersive. Another thing is to make the game immersive. The game has to be immersive. You cannot immersion is a big thing, regardless if a player is a role player or not. The game has to have a certain level of immersion, regardless for if the person is a role player or not. The person has to feel immersed in the game. He has to feel invested in the game. You know what I'm saying? You can't take the immersion out of the game like WoW did with it.
Even though it's not like a gameplay feature, it still is a big part of Star Citizen and what keeps us coming back to it, right? Like I've had moments in Star Citizen where I told Emmy the other day, and for those of you guys that might not know, Emmy's my girlfriend. I told her there was like a couple moments when I was in game where like I thought I just felt like I was in, I felt like I was in the game. Like I was fully immersed in the game, and that's one of the things that no matter what is always going to bring you back to Star Citizen, because the game's so beautiful. It looks so good, and the immersion is there. So yeah. But get your final thoughts in Unmatched, because we got a long queue, so we want to try and get everybody in.
All right. So again, let me revising what I said. There has to be immersion. There has to be investment in the game. Mm-hmm. Players have to feel immersed in the game. They have to be invested in the game. They have to the game has to have some grind to it. There have to be a lot of team play in it, because the best memories are always made with your friends, at least in my book. You know what I'm saying? But that's off the top of my head. Those are the things I would really want Star Citizen to have to for it to be viable within 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my conclusion.
All right, man. Well, thank you for the call. It was really good. It's good to have somebody that plays a lot of MMOs, because like I said, I kind of got stuck playing one game, and I don't have enough experience in other games to always compare and contrast in some situations. So thank you, Unmatched. It was a really good call, and looking forward to the next one.
All right. Thank you.
Later, dude. All right, so we have the famous Memestein or IDD next. IDD, you're on Answer the Call. What's up, man?
Hey.
BitConnect. What's up, dude?
Uh, I also have something else I want to talk about, but I quickly want to
Oh,
give
you're just
my
going to change the
input
subject.
on
You're going to come to the one subject channel podcast and you're going to change the subject. Is that what's going to happen?
Totally.
Okay,
My show
fine.
now.
Fine.
No, I just want to quickly give an input on the subscription model and what I think about it and why I'm against it.
Okay.
Most games nowadays go away from the subscription model. I think WoW might be the only big game left that has one.
Mhm.
And I think Star Citizen should stay away from it as well. And it was also something CR said they won't do. It's because a fixed monthly fee, I think, scares players away at some point. It's the feel of wasting money if you don't play 24/7.
Yeah.
And I think Star Citizen has so many possibilities to make up for the lack of a subscription model in form of microtransactions. And it could make CIG even more money than the subscription would.
What type of
And the community,
microtransactions are we talking all the way up? Like obviously skins, right? But are we talking all the way up to ship sales? Continued ship sales?
I'm against ship sales, to
Me
be
too.
honest.
Me too. Because I think it affects the game too much.
Yeah, I think they should be able to, or people should be able to buy UEC to a certain amount, but complete ships. If they're gonna do it, then low tier ships only.
Okay.
I don't think you should go in and buy a reclaimer just like that.
I agree. I think it skips too much of the game.
Yeah.
But all right, so what kind of gameplay elements would you want to see? I know you're, for those of you guys that don't know IDD's background, he does develop some games, so he has a lot of input on this kind of stuff. So
a little bit.
Yeah, like you
Just
do it for fun, right? It's like a hobby.
Yeah. My other point, a couple of years ago, I read an article from, I think, Michael Barclay was his name. He was writing about how CIG was building their levels with modular pieces and all. And back then, I asked Brian Chambers if those tools could be made available to the community in-game. And he said, yes, there might be some edge cases and UI work to do, but it would be possible. And we already have colonizing and base building planned, right? We just don't know how far they will take it. And that's what I think could give the game a longer lifespan. Imagine the community populates entire planets and moons and builds space stations and hubs. And
so you send more sandbox elements. But the problem with that is they're gonna. I agree with you, but you know full well with all the issues they have in game now. Do you think that they would be able to solve the problem of us? They want their game to be beautiful, and I'll go back to I've always, like, for those of you that watch the Redacted podcast, and if you haven't, I'll put the link in the description or above. Is I always go back to a game that I played a lot, Ultima Online, and one of the biggest problems with Ultima Online was when they took away their cookie cutter planets, their cookie cutter houses, and you had the choice from a small square house to like all these different things, and they can only fit in certain areas. And then they went to these big squares that you can customize yourself, but most people aren't artistic enough or creative enough to make something beautiful. So all that you had all over the Ultima Online world was these big squares, and it took away from the beauty of the game. And I think the game is still beautiful today, but a lot of people, look at Ultima Online and say it's ugly, but whatever. It really took away from it. Now, what you're kind of implying there is that we would be able to kind of place things and do stuff. I wanted to interrupt a little bit and say there would have to be some restrictions to it, right? First off, for performance reasons, and second, for the overall, they want their game to look like the way they want it to.
Well, I think thanks to OCS, performance shouldn't be the giant issue.
We'll see though, because you're talking. I mean,
we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we also know we will have game masters, right? And
yeah.
I think they could overlook, or you have the community like a report system, saying like you could write a ticket and say, hey, this guy was building a giant penis on the planet. Yeah, please remove. So the the community could monitor that as well, or help monitoring it. But I think it would be nice, like
I agree.
players building an area, and the game master could jump in like, wow, that's a nice area. Let me add a NPC shop right here, so it's not only a player's area anymore, but you incorporate NPCs as well.
Yeah, I mean, and they can even say, because I imagine the Star Citizen content going forward, once the game's released, would be more of, look at what, like sort of what they're doing now. Look at what these people are doing in game. Oh wow, look at they wrote Evo Cuddy and in fucking buggies or something, you know, like just like there would be a lot of that kind of stuff. So when people make something cool, that's what they'll highlight. They'll highlight the things that the community does. That's really neat, right? I don't disagree with you at all, but I do think that there will definitely be more heavy restrictions than full ability to do whatever you want. Like we're not going to be able to build right up next to Hurston, right? We're not going to build right up next to I don't know, doesn't matter, just like another major city. So we might have our areas where we can kind of do what we want, and then we'll have our areas where we can't, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a specific area selected or given by CIG, where they say, all right, you are free to build here.
Yeah, I mean, how cool would it be to, like, I don't want like, you're not talking Minecraft, right? Like, and neither am I. I'm looking that there's kind of sort of building blocks, but that we can, you know, put something on stilts and have a, you know, like a hab go into I don't know, like a mountainside or something like that. And somebody mentioned Rust in chat. I would want not Rust. I would not want squares and triangles and those things to work with. I think what we would get in Star Citizen, and what I would like to see in Star Citizen, I'm going to speak a little bit for you here, IDD, but I imagine we're on the same page, is that we would have modular pieces, modules of like habs and buildings and mining facilities, and there'll be all sorts of different stuff, but there'll be more modules that we get to kind of Lego together instead of building blocks.
Absolutely.
Right?
Exactly that. Like walls with windows and doors, and you put it together.
Maybe more like Subnautica, correct? Somebody in Twitch chat said Subnautica at the same time. Yeah, so Subnautica I think would be more like what I was thinking.
Yeah, so pretty much just like CIG does their levels as well.
Yeah,
with
of course.
Modular pieces, and you plug them together.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add before I bring in the next caller?
No, I just think that would increase the lifespan of the game, and it would also provide another reason to gather and process resources.
Yeah.
So it technically would affect existing professions as well.
It creates ownership, and ownership is what makes you want to play games, when you feel ownership of whatever you've done in the game, right? And that's what I felt in games that had these elements, and that's I think you're really hitting something strong there.
And it's even more immersion. It's like you go into that area and you know, wow, we built this, and not CIG gave access.
Yeah, I agree. All right, IDD.
All right, that's all.
Have a great one. Maybe we'll see you next week.
You too. Later.
Bye now. All right, our next caller is Starsickle. Starsickle, what's up? You're on Answer the Call.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Hey, anytime, man. So what do you got?
All right, I find that as deeper you go in, the more burden you are to talk about many different things. I'll try to move myself quickly.
Okay.
Quick word on the sub. We've seen subs decline within industry use. So people are realizing like, well, show me the quality if you want the sub. Despite MMOs being a remarkably cheap form of entertainment, like find another hobby. I dare you, find another hobby that $15 goes anywhere from 8 to 70-ish hours of fun.
Yeah, not even television.
Really all I want to say.
Yeah.
So what is relevant? Our perspective of what success or relevance looks like. I mean, you and I are old timers. We've played a lot of games.
Are you calling me old man?
400K was good. I'm sorry.
You call me old man?
Well, we're both old timers, right?
I guess, yeah, I'm old.
Yeah, you played RuneScape and Ultima Online. I played EQ and so on and so forth. You know, in our day, it was 400K was good.
Yeah.
And WoW came out, and we're like 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, and our perspective is warped. And like, we need to. What are our terms for success?
Fortnite.
Fortnite. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. But my point being is when we talk about like what kind of content we're gonna see, we talk about our conception of what content is like. Wow, you know, there's raids, there's dungeons, a theme park MMO. I can't see that working the same way here.
Me neither. But there are theme park elements, and I really feel like it will stay that way.
Yeah,
I don't think there's like linear progression, but you're gonna know that I go here to get this thing. I go there to do this thing. Can we agree on that part at least?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There will be that level of stuff within mission systems and within like on the ground levels, and that's cool. You know, there's gonna be plenty of that, and now they can do that procedurally. They don't need to have someone writing every one, and that's really good. But like raiding and key questing, licenses to access areas. I don't know how well they're going to be able to do that without a license system. Which brings me to systems, the real things. Simulations. The simulation, Tony Z's a genius. We're going to have NPC and economy. It's the most sophisticated thing I've ever seen. The simulation drives the services that we as players will use in the game. So stores, like they'll be out of stuff. Well, that's because something's happening over there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the written content. That stuff is content. It's short term. We're going to burn right through it. It's what we do. But SIG can do this. They have Dave Haddock. They have others. These guys are great. And the sheer size of the game. The game is absolutely huge. It's procedurally generated in many areas, and then they fine-tune it. Imagine this. Do you think you'll ever walk every street of ArcCorp as long as we can physically do it? Do you think you'll ever see the whole thing?
No.
Yeah, so that's generally my points in a nutshell. I honestly think they have the tools to do this. They have the systems to do this. And for 10 years, yeah, people still play WoW, and it's a theme park. People still play Minecraft. Even though Minecraft is a really old Java program that gets updated every once in a while, it's still an amazing. I think we can do it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they just really need to focus on us taking ownership, us being a part of it. But they're also doing a good job of, and we've talked about this on previous Answer the Calls, of that Tony Z simulation thing where they can make sure we don't break anything, you know?
And that's why I think the reason why when he was describing NPCs as an input to the functions and they're virtualized, they're not in the actual verse. That's very smart. It prevents us from breaking it.
Yeah.
It allows the simulation to go on, and it enforces the 9 to 1.
Absolutely. So do you think, would you agree that that's the most important thing is subsumption?
Absolutely. The simulation is the most important thing for the longevity of the game, for the deepness, the novelty of the game, which is very important.
Okay.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you had a very different take than all of our previous callers, but again, a very good point that you're making there is it's going to create variety for us, right? Where, you know, one day I may be able to make money doing X in the system that I'm in, and then, you know, maybe it takes time and it's gradual, or maybe it happens in an instant because of some sort of in-game event that happened, the economy crashed or something like that, and it changes my experience there, and now I have to go to another place and experience whole nother part of the game and enjoy it, and maybe I find some, beautiful area and I decide to make that my home. Like there can be all sorts of things that happen, right? Really good point, man. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think that players very much underestimate with all their cookie schemes and Star Citizen plans. They're forgetting how important locality is. What's happening around Crusader or in Stanton is going to be totally different from what's happening somewhere around Terra or Virgil or some other place in along the Xi'an borderline. Use the map. The locality is going to be so important. So you have so much content within a single system, but then something happens, you can pick up and leave, and now you have a whole other set of conditions to deal with.
Yep. I agree. That's pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, and you're probably going to hear through the grapevine what's happening, and you're going to be like, man, I wish I was there. And if the travel times are anything like they are now, it's going to be a significant trek to have to go over there and experience it. And when you get there, it's going to be worth the trip, maybe,
And we don't have a magic information network either. We have to drag information and data across the jump points. So there's information lag, there's information quality. That's going to be huge.
Yep. That'll be cool. I still think a lot of that stuff's going to be passed through Discords and things like that, but we'll see. Screenshots will happen. Yeah. But all right, do you want to add anything else before I bring in the next caller?
Nerf shamans.
Get out of here. Get out of here with that WoW stuff. Malefik, what's up? You're on Answer the Call.
What's going on, man?
Not much.
All right, so I'm thinking I'm going to follow the same template as everybody else. I'll just kind of comment about the previous people first.
Okay.
And then you can go on from there. So payment model. Obviously, subscriptions, they work. They've worked for a long time. And, I think it'd be a good way to just get CIG more money on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
But, everyone's doing the microtransactions and stuff now. And that, obviously that still works. But, thinking about like AO, all LBN Online, you can just kind of buy gold and, have some sort of subscription basis around that. Or like roll the tanks, we can just kind of, buy gold and then use that to use it in game somehow.
So for example, what Albion Online does, me and Malefik both play it pretty heavily, is they have a premium subscription. You don't have to subscribe to play the game, but premium gives you a lot of benefits to the point where you basically can't play the game without it. And so it incentivizes subscriptions, but they're not needed to play the game. So I think a lot of the people that brought up subscription models up to this point, they were subscription access models, where this subscription model is the premium subscription model. So that's a little bit of a different take at it, which
right.
It works. It works for Albion. I've been subscribed to it, and I don't necessarily like that for Star Citizen personally, but yeah. Continue on. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure people understood the difference between the two.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely. Needed some clarification there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just leave that there and we can talk about that later. But
okay.
As far as like owning things in game, that definitely is something I want to do in Star Citizen.
Yep.
But again, you just have to be very careful on how you do it. So I think just going out and buying a plan that you can place, like early days UO, is probably the best way to do it.
Like I buy a mining station or a mining like drill or whatever, right? Is what you mean?
Right.
And you place it down. Yeah. Or the plans for it, but then you have to build it or something, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe just for the immersion factor of Star Citizen.
Get the correct resources and in order for it to be built, but
okay.
Don't let people just like, I want to build this penis statue and put it.
Why is it always penises, guys? Come on.
Because it always ends up being penises. You know that.
Yes. One of my most popular videos is on YouTube is literally shooting a gun into a freelancer and denting it into the shape of a penis. So.
Right. So if you just have like basic models that you can buy and place, that's the best way to go.
Yep.
Okay, so for my ideas on how to keep Star Citizen relevant for 10 plus years, basically social and exploration.
Okay.
So like talking to just random NPCs, not ones that are mission givers, just to find out about some rumor, some thing, some history, whatever that they've heard about, and then you start finding out more about it, talking to more people, and maybe you find or someone tells you like a location they heard it was at 1,000 years ago or something.
Yeah.
And so that on that same thing, if you just fly around and explore stuff, and you find some hidden treasure, you find some lost tech, you find something, a ship, there's something to keep you invested in the game and just looking around.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Some examples.
I agree. And go give examples. I'm sorry.
Guild Wars 2.
Okay, that's a game I've never played before. So go into detail a little bit for me if you don't mind.
These were, they're kind of dumb, but they're also just interesting. Like you could do these random puzzles.
Okay.
And you get like rewards for doing them.
Okay. Which
I thought was kind of dumb, but the concept makes sense. If you just go and find these puzzles and do them, it gives you something to do while for exploring.
Yep.
Also, like Skyrim. A lot of times you'd have to do some puzzle in order to gain access to a dungeon.
Yeah.
The door wouldn't open until you got the puzzle right.
And they can do that in Star Citizen without it being like, I know this is a puzzle, like you'd still know it's a puzzle, but like, for example, the crashed satellite from CitizenCon this year, right? Where you had to take out your utility gun and kind of crack into things to get out the disc, right? So it is still a puzzle, and you had to jump, and it was a puzzle, but it didn't feel that way.
Yeah. So it's same idea, just okay. Something rewarding you for getting out there and just trying stuff.
Yeah.
No one's done this before, but I'm gonna try it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my ideas.
All right, man. Cool. I don't disagree with them all at all. I like the idea of the kind of plans, like you buy plans for something and then you have to build it yourself. I think that's a good element to
Definitely,
it. Yeah, man. All right, Malefik. I'll see you in Albion Online.
Will I?
Hopefully. Yeah, I know. We never play together. It sucks. All right, man. Talk to you later. All right, our next caller is Caman. And for those of you guys that don't know Caman's the guy in the YouTube comments that everyone goes, that guy's the man. So he's consistently been one of our top callers. So Caman, you're on Welcome to Answer the Call. You're on Answer the Call, Caman. What are your thoughts?
Good morning, Twerk. Thank you so much for having me on.
Anytime.
It's obviously a really busy day, so I appreciate you taking my call.
Of course.
Well, I think I'm going to mirror, I guess, broadly what some other callers were touching on.
Okay.
I'm going to probably take this in a different direction. I'm not going to really comment on the subscription thing. We talked about that. I think that Star Citizen should certainly take its cues from other leading games like Fortnite, Warframe, and World of Warcraft.
He said Fortnite, guys. But yes, I agree. I agree.
Like it or love it or hate it, I think that there's probably very viable lessons CIG could potentially learn from WoW's expansion formula in particular. Love it or hate it, WoW is still going strong, 14 years in with 7 expansions. So even though WoW has evolved into a more convenience-based theme park MMO with easily digestible instanced objectives and zones, and Star Citizen, to the contrary, aims to be a non-instanced or a more non-instanced persistent sandbox with server meshing, for instance. WoW has nonetheless maintained an indisputably leading position in the MMO genre for many years, and so I believe it can actually serve as a blueprint for what works in terms of long-term MMO content development. So in each WoW expansion, the level cap increases, which raises the ceiling of character progression in a very clear way, probably the most easily understood way in a game. And while we know there won't be traditional character levels in Star Citizen, the ship diversity and the item component system promises to be robust enough to serve in place of that.
And reputation levels.
Yes, absolutely. Reputation as well. Criminality, reputation, those types of things that are tied persistently to your character and passed on in some spirit as you move forward, as your characters die and move forward and take different forms. Like Chris Roberts said, it's a textural change. You'll be succeeded by a new character, but they'll inherit a lot of the reputation, or at least a portion of the reputations that you've built up in the world. So we know that the game is going to be launching with dozens of ships, possibly over 100 at the pace they're going, with items and components to match. So Star Citizen will have a very broad itemization landscape, and expanding on that will be key, I think. For instance, like I imagine starting out with a standard issue multi-tool as a noob. We're all noobs. We start out at launch. Standard issue multi-tool that can do a bit of everything, maybe some very light mining or salvage. But later on, I purchase a subcomponent that enhances mining precision in an unstable environment, or purchase a total multi-tool kit side grade, that has a delicate tractor beam to collect samples in a toxic environment for science gameplay. So we know that CIG plans to have environmental factors modify the gameplay.
Absolutely.
So for instance, a prospector will probably have to struggle to mine rocks in an atmosphere with very violent turbulence, but this could potentially be offset by kitting out your prospector with components that boost the ship's stabilization in harsh environments at the expense of, let's say, increased power consumption. CIG can add all types of modifiers to existing gameplay loops just by adding new physical environments, and doing this will extend the variation in the grind itself and keep the gameplay loops fresh without necessarily needing to come up with a new ship or bloat the game economy with unnecessary, new discrete items that they come up with just for very specific targeted purposes. They don't necessarily have to do that if they can tweak and modify the gameplay with those environmental changes. So I'm extremely excited for this concept because I see so much potential for them to iterate long-term content based on how we know they're building out the game. So,
environments plus components to allow you to enjoy those environments, and the grind to get that component and to learn how to use it and so on and so forth. It just keeps going, right?
Absolutely. And that reminds me, just your response just reminded me of the stream you did several weeks ago when you were mining that highly resistant unstable rock. You had multiple prospectors on it. I was at the edge of my seat watching you do that.
Yeah. And the first thing I thought about was wouldn't it be cool if they added a cooling laser that did the opposite of heating up the rock? Because when you overcharge by accident, you have to wait for it to come down. And wouldn't it be cool if you had a buddy, or even, in future mining ships, multiple mining lasers, where you can switch to the cooling laser and then cool it back down and then start over again
such a good idea.
Quicker, right? So,
and the UI will show the dynamic response as that person is cooling it off. You all can there's a global readout of the rock status. Oh, that's such a
and then but then it creates I actually would prefer it to be on two different ships, where it creates even though you're in a solo ship like a prospector, not just the rocks that are really difficult to break would you need multiple people to work with to crack them, but you can also just go out as a mining crew and have your guy there as your cooler, and then there's the one that's the breaker, and then there's the one that's the the guy who picks everything up. There can be multiple roles to mining then.
Yeah, and there's so much opportunity there for this sort of layered, nuanced gameplay, even at the small group level. Yeah. But touching further on the WoW expansions, there's also some minor gameplay evolutions that occur in them, like flying mounts, talent tree tweaks, the garrison feature added in Warlords of Draenor, I believe. I didn't play WoW past Blackwing Lair way back when, but I did follow the games. It's a huge game, so of course I followed it. Yeah. But as I understand, the garrison feature added this stronghold where you could recruit followers and gather resources. It was basically a home base. This sort of island of progression opportunities specific to that individual player's interests. We know that Star Citizen will have player habs and outposts. The Kraken is now here, which is essentially a flying rest stop carrier combo. So we're starting to see foreshadowing of the emergence of this sort of quasi stronghold management aspect. I believe that CIG can expand upon this by periodically bringing in handcrafted dynamic strongholds into the game with AI factions that can be controlled. And
I mean, let me tell you something.
Of resources.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but I just this popped in my head is these large guilds or orgs, like as they're called in Star Citizen, are going to be crying. They're going to be upset with Star Citizen if they don't add those type of elements in, because those things are the content for them. Is these guilds or org owners or the high-ranking people in them or the larger ones, they're going to run out of things to do probably faster, or they're going to be
instantly.
They have the ability to experience the game a lot easier with larger groups, right? So to give content for those people, and in the end, what's going to keep the game relevant for 10 plus years? Orgs.
Yeah.
Right? Orgs
absolutely. Yeah. And I was actually going to say that this could be scaled. The stronghold aspect could be scaled to provide opportunities for all group sizes, not just large orgs, but those were the first ones I had in mind.
Yeah.
Because they're going to look to be able to stretch their legs and to be able to leverage their management clout. Because a large org, like I've seen some, I've seen a lot of very, very good orgs out there. I know that there's a lot of org saturation. I don't want to get into this too much, but I'll just say this backing community is smart and focused and coordinated. And some of the orgs I've seen, they're going to want to stretch their legs and they're going to want to leverage the type of management clout that they have. So you're absolutely right that, they're going to want to be able to do that. And I think that stronghold, that aspect of being able to control something in a persistent way is going to give them ongoing opportunities and reasons to log in.
Yeah.
And perhaps most importantly, with regard to expansions and kind of taking inspiration from WoW, there are changes or additions to the game world, major changes oftentimes. So in Cataclysm, for instance, many areas of Azeroth were destroyed from Deathwing's invasion, and Deathwing was the in-game PvE raid boss of that expansion.
Okay.
In Fortnite, we also see this similar concept of an evolving map that creates this tension, this continuous narrative interest that's tied into the game world. So Chris Roberts has stated his intention to have in-game universe events from time to time push the universe's story forward and create these sort of dynamic opportunities and time-sensitive objectives that players can scramble to. Obviously, this could certainly create PvP scenarios if you're competing for resources, doing the stronghold thing that we talked about in a lawless system, for instance. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, imagine the death of a beloved NPC and the players, us, me, you, others, attending their funeral. That type of event, and this is the other side of the spectrum, it can create some pretty heartwarming community moments that keep player engagement high.
Yeah.
And with proper implementation of their AI, their writing, their voice work, CIG can tug at our heartstrings and keep us engaged without needing to contrive samey content updates. They can still do those, and they'll certainly do them, but they have so many tools in their toolboxes. And that's what makes I'm so excited for this topic, because I see the potential.
Yeah.
But anyway, lastly, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say I was really excited for this topic too. That was all. Yeah.
Well, lastly, and real quick, is the concept of cosmetics, and kind of like Tony Zervik says, the quiet AI. Well, I think of that in player terms as the quiet, day-to-day mundane activities. So in Warframe, there are cosmetics and fashion. And that's why I mentioned them. Fashion frame is a thing. So will Fashion Citizen be.
We do it in Star Citizen too. I mean, one of the first things we do is when a new patch comes out and new clothing comes in, is we go and look at it. We put on our mining hats or our right now I call them head condoms, the little bag heads. Like.
I loved the segment earlier this morning where you all were you were helping one of your viewers shop in the store.
We've done fashion shows before, and they're some of the most fun content I've done.
Yeah. And it will continue to be. People love that kind of stuff. I like that stuff too.
Yeah,
in GTA Online, I know I didn't mention that before, but GTA Online, for all of its flaws, there's a ton of cosmetics and things to buy in that game, and that's what keeps the value of shark cards where they are.
Yeah.
But I think that's the point. saturating the day-to-day mundane activities with fun, immersive tidbits, cosmetics, little things you can do to make your character stand out, to kind of communicate with each other, to engage with each other. The stuff like the board games that we discussed, that a lot of people speculated about, especially with the coming in of the Mercury Star winner, I think. Things that you can do in the quiet day-to-day downtime of traveling to and fro, I think is going to be a huge portion of keeping people engaged just at the normal level, because everybody does that. Everybody will have downtime, and the most casual player will have to confront that reality, as will the most hardcore player.
Yeah. I'm going to let you go, but I'm going to do, well, I'll keep you in here, but while I make this point and see if you want to add anything real quick, because we have a few more callers left. But I think one of the things would be also, because the game's very detailed, right? And this just kind of popped in my head, is we're always going to have downtime, and it's what you do with that downtime is how you enjoy the game or not a lot of times. So inventory management done well, and ship management and any management of the mundane things that you need to use each and every day needs to be on point and a smooth experience in order to, and the UIs in particular, in order to have the game, you be playing the game. Like, it's what makes a game relevant, what keeps a game fun is you're not stuck in the UI, you're not managing your inventory for 15, 20 minutes. Some people are mentioning 15 to 20 minute quantum travels, right? So that's probably going to be a topic for another day. And we'll see, because we know that they ask questions about the time to fly and if we liked it or if we didn't. So we're going to see what happens with that. I don't think it's a topic for right now. Let's see what they do with it in the future. But yeah. So, all right, Caman, I'm going to let you go.
I'm
as
really
always.
Optimistic. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, as always, thank you for your call. They're always great. I really appreciate them, man.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See you
man.
later.
See you next time. Belatar is next. Belatar, welcome to answer the call.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, thanks. Why do I not hear you now? Do I have to keep the stream on audio?
No, you don't hear me?
Now I hear you.
Okay, cool.
Well, I think I won't have much new to add, because all of the points I was going to make, others made already, and maybe better.
Okay.
Maybe I could just focus on those points that I really think that are crucial and important.
Go for it.
One of the main ones was the one that IDD made earlier.
Okay.
About players creating their own content, expanding the world, like building stuff, taking ownership, cities, outposts, basically populating the universe.
Yeah.
Because something that we might learn from other games, other MMOs like WoW,
Star Wars Galaxies.
is Star Wars Galaxies, for instance, is that PvE content takes static PvE content, like in WoW. Developers take a year to develop it, and then players consume it in 4 weeks. It's extremely cumbersome to make, and it doesn't last very long. It becomes grindy and boring very, very quickly. So you will need some stuff like that, something like those daily quests, those blue quests from World of Warcraft or World quests, so that when you enter the game and you don't feel like doing something complex, or just want to wind down after a busy day, so you have something simple to do, so that you have some kind of white noise in missions, some simple stuff that you can engage into.
Okay.
But you need to balance that out, and the more important part would be to have the tools in game so that players can create their own content.
Yeah.
So in the sense of I'm after 5 years of playing, I'm the fat rich dude, and I feel like having a very rare dye on my coat, and there is some very fancy and rare plant on some planet that has not yet been discovered. So I create some kind of contract for someone to pick up, which would require explorers to find the planet. It would require biologists, to extract that from the plant. It would require production, and I'm just fantasizing here.
Yeah.
So this kind of content where players engage with each other, but that require an in-game toolkit to be able to put those missions out there for yourself, not designed by not designed by the developers, but by the players themselves, so that you can say, I have a mission editor and say, okay, I want to do this, that, put it out there, whatever you want to do with it, and then others go for that.
So you would like to see them kind of elaborate more on the service beacon system and allow you to create more elaborate service beacons for players and stuff, and that would create it's definitely a more sandbox element to the game, and you're creating missions that are more like the missions that CIG creates for themselves. But that's pretty cool. Now, I was going to pose this earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you. You were talking about the ownership of things, and nobody really mentioned this yet, is what about more ownership of your ships? We know that they're not really interested in doing too much modularity inside the ships or about the ships, but with paint jobs and maybe some little internal modular things or additions to ships, wouldn't that help things like add to the ownership? Because ships are really important in the game, and we've talked a lot about owning land or owning a building, but what's the main part of the game is the ships. And what I feel that they're going to need to do is create ownership of that before anything, is create better ownership of my ship. My Phoenix should be different than your Phoenix. My Orion should be different than your Orion, and why, you know? So
definitely very important.
Yeah. So I'm interested in seeing how they may do that, and hopefully they do that.
Regarding that, I remember that one of my very first gaming experiences, and the one of the most motivating, was way back in the day when X-Wing came out. It was the graphics were crap, and it was limited tech, but you had this kind of progression. It was a single-player game, of course, where you had this kind of a progression where you constantly build up some kind of rank, and they just showed the developing breast badge, your military breast badge, where tokens were added, like in the real military. It was super simple, but it was something that showed your progress, and it was purely cosmetic. So, and I think that is something, if you can individualize and can dye your clothing, have combinations of clothing, have dye on your ship, maybe even a paint job with signs on your ship, or
guild logos, all sorts
that.
of stuff, or org logos, I should say.
And that is especially important because it gives you a high motivation without falling into that power creep trap. That WoW falls into, where it always has to be the more powerful item, and that's a carrot in front of your nose as well. It works, but it's a kind of trap, because you have this big number creep where they need to do an item squish every 1 or 2 expansions and all that crap. And I think doing this via cosmetics is way more healthy for a game.
Cool. All right. Do you have anything else that you want to add before we bring any the other callers in? Because we still got a couple more.
Yeah, I see. Let me think. Now, I think the really important core point is find and design tools for the players to create their own content, be it PvE, cooperative, or PvP, which is the ultimate goal. If you have engaging PvP for everyone, this is the least operational effort versus the most versatile gameplay.
And so I think that's more the direction they're going than anywhere. I mean, we see with their ATVs, they're always talking about emergent gameplay, right? Us creating the gameplay. I think if anybody is on point about the direction that Star Citizen will likely actually go, it's you with that point there.
And I really hope they deliver on that. Create the
too.
Basic daily quests, those static theme park quests, it's fine. So you have something to do if you don't feel like doing complex things, but the absolute focus needs to be on giving tools to players to create their own content.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Okay.
All right, Belatar. Well, thank you so much for your call, man. Hopefully we'll see you on another one.
Me.
Anytime. See you next time, bud.
Bye.
All right, we got ColdestBlood. I think ColdestBlood's a first-time caller. ColdestBlood, welcome to answer the call.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. What's up?
So, with the talk of theme park and sandbox, I think theme park and sandbox should be pretty well balanced, and I think it would be important to keep both gameplay aspects in play, so it broadens the likeness to everybody out there.
Absolutely.
Dynamic missions as far as like invasions from the Vandal and stuff like that. It would be a waste to not use the Vandal for things like that.
Of course
and
not.
Like kind of doing away with any of that would be kind of a shame and kind of pooping on the work of the developers for designing amazing creatures like that. So using all those big ships and those fighters that they have would be very important to keep. And then as far as like the other side, the sandbox side, I think more dynamic like industry play would probably be good, because in Star Wars Galaxies you had constant resource shifts in the worlds and stuff like that. Yeah. There would be qualities of different ores and stuff like that would move around, and I think if they had like some kind of like density factor or some kind of underlying quality factor to the different materials, and we could craft items like ship weapons or something like that. Say you have a base on Hurston, and you could become like a partner to Hurston Dynamics for that locale, and then you could use the resources around there. But the trick of it would be is that the quality of the resources would shift around, and orgs would have to move around and be nomadic, and that would kind of broaden what happens in the universe as far as like where people are getting into combat, where they're setting up bases. They wouldn't be setting up and then being there for 10 years. They would be constantly moving, constantly changing their surroundings and whatnot. And I think it would add a lot of gameplay.
Oh yeah, 100%. And we're seeing them start to go in that direction a little bit as well, with the fact that we've seen them in mostly in the monthly reports talk about the crafting system, sort of, with the refineries and things like that, where I don't think we're actually going to be crafting like traditional MMOs, but we will be crafting in some sense, where bringing materials to a place to have it refined, bringing that refined material to a place to have it created into an item, maybe bring that item to a place to have it added with other items to create a weapon, potentially, is where I kind of see things going. And maybe, like you were saying, is you can have that assembly line on your owned portion of your moon or your planet, potentially, and I think you would have to be like you said, tied to a company or something where you can use their blueprints.
Yeah, that would definitely add a big dynamic to the game. Like I said, it would keep people moving around, stuff like that, and it would keep people in certain places, and other people would move on, and it would make big shifts. And I don't think anything would get old at that point. With the cargo system and just kind of dropping stuff off and building up a base, like eventually that base is going to be done. You're not going to need anything else. This would promote like salvaging of like enemy bases, big attacks to take over territories, things like that. It would make exploration more viable, since they kind of cut back on our jumping and stuff like that. There's ways to boost that by like maybe doing like an archaeology in exploration, and then as well as constantly finding those better resources and things like that.
Of course, I like the idea that you mentioned of like quality, where we see a lot of similar minerals. I mean, we obviously know that they're going to add more and spread them out and whatever, but we see a lot of similar minerals in the small universe that we have now, and it would be cool to see. I mean, I guess they sort of do have better quality in the sense that there's more dense like rocks than others when we go mining, but to also add the quality element to it would be really interesting as well.
Yeah, like if you had like 6 components as far as materials on like a laser cannon.
Yeah.
And all of them had like a 85% density versus, next door they have 60% on most of their stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to have a little bit higher damage on that, and it's going to make your shop something special versus the next guy.
Exactly.
There's always going to be those base weapons that people probably can get for cheaper at the shops, and as well as armor too. I mean, you could start doing armor and you name it. You can go to the ends of the earth on the crafting with it. Multi-tools, things like that.
And then the overclocking, even,
right. Then you'll have overclocking on top of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I think that would make a big dynamic. And then as far as everybody was saying about the subscription base, I mean, if CIG wanted to continue like what they have now, I think people would support it as far as just some cosmetic items for that support every month, like that optional sub. But I think if
they do sub, that's what I'd like to see is what they have now, basically.
Right. And, keep that. And I think people would be okay with that. And there's going to be plenty of people that'll buy into that. And then ship liveries, obviously. And then like armor colors or certain kinds of armor would be a big thing. People will buy that up like crazy. So as far as like paying for everything, you also have the background tech of the game as well. The background tech they can license out to different people. When this game blows up, it's going to be huge.
There's a chance that this studio becomes. There's a chance, okay, that this studio becomes the next, EA, Blizzard, right? I know they clearly want to. They clearly want to with the way they're doing things. They clearly already think they are in some cases with the cons and things like that, where maybe it's a little too early. For stuff like that, but they clearly it seems very obvious what direction they want to go in, and it may be exactly what you're saying,
right? And they're putting the time in to do it right, and these pipelines, people can throw whatever textures and models and stuff in them and make completely new universes and stuff. I mean, it's like you could build lives of games with this. Next company that buys this tech might build a Star Wars game or something like that.
I mean, they can simply build the next Skyrim. It doesn't have to be a space game with the tech that they have, and have it be extremely open world, and feel different and feel better. There's so much they can do and go from here. But yeah, okay. We're definitely getting off topic now. But is there anything else you wanna add before I bring in our final caller?
No, I know you're running kind of close, probably. So
yeah, man.
I'll let the last caller get in.
All right, Coldest. Have a good one. Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
All right, ColdestBlood, and now we got Ponut64. Ponut64 will be our final caller of the day. Ponut64, welcome to answer the call. How you doing?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
I won't be too long.
All right.
Lost the worst caller again.
Yeah, we gotta head over to the expo and check out today's the Origin Expo in game. So we're gonna check that out.
Yeah,
today.
I got a form thread in the hardware section called Spot Check. You might, I don't know. Don't worry about that.
I'll check it out.
My poll for the discussion today is actually a little I generally agree that subsumption, that's extremely important for longevity.
I think that was an interesting take. I didn't think of that one.
I mean, they need that.
Yeah, of course.
My other take is 10 years is all great, but I'd like a plan to get there faster, obviously, because I'm impatient. But
we all are.
I think large people who play the game first, they might want just a better way to organize with friends and get something done together. Because people have brought it up earlier that games get played more when you can play them good and have fun with your friends.
Yeah.
And obviously they're planning that, but I'm kind of hoping they can do a lot better with multiple people working on the same ship, which is
working in the same mission. I mean, we don't even really have that yet.
Yeah, I know.
Right? We still got a ways to go on a lot of it.
The closest thing I've heard of is there being a rock so hard to mine you needed multiple prospectors. That's cool.
Yeah. It is. It was really fun. That experience is probably my best in-game experience that I've ever had. Was holy shit, guys! We can't mine this rock. Just with just one of us. What do we do? And then we were like, all right, well, you put yours at 50%. I'll put mine at 100, and then we kind of worked it around and to try to do it as safely as possible, so we all didn't die. That was great.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason why I backed this game. I'm a low dollar backer, but I have a Dragonfly and an Aurora. And Aurora's useless. I want the Dragonfly to be useful because it has 2 seats on it. So that's the gist of that.
Yeah.
I want something for 2 people to do on a Dragonfly, like for instance, throw C4 off the back of it.
Scramble races, baby.
Yeah, scramble races. I also think large organizations would like the ability to generate stuff like sooner rather than later. As I've said, I want a plan to get there. Like CAG could relatively soon add a location on a planet, like a farm, where if you make a party and a party claims the farm and you protect it from either AI that come raid it or other players, every 5 minutes it generates a couple SCU of cargo you can go put on a ship and go and make money off of that.
That you didn't have to buy, yeah.
Yeah, just a way to generate cargo rather than... That's basically what mining is right now. It's a way to generate cargo. So it's an exciting possibility. Like they might have on a planet an abandoned mine, abandoned quarry, where there's rich minerals there, but there might constantly be AI pirates there, or even more than the pirates, just players trying to get at that.
Yeah.
Just a fast way to get to players' emerging gameplay, as they have said. I'm talking about the tier 0 stuff that people don't like to hear about. But.
Now I'm going to interrupt you, but I it's for a good reason. You're completely off topic, but completely on topic. So I want to kind of clarify where you're going and maybe get your opinion on it. Is for you to think that for Star Citizen to stay relevant for 10 plus years, is you want it to become relevant faster?
Yes.
Okay. So that's because you're obviously talking all the gameplay elements and features that you're talking about are very short-term things.
Yeah. I think short-term, and I think that the media cycle thinks short-term. Star Citizen has been in the media cycle for like 6 years now, something like that. There are a lot of people out there who have already made their mind up about the game. We want to minimize that number of people. But, I mean... Who knows? Obviously, a long-term plan has attracted this many backers. That seems to make more money.
Yeah.
But I think at some point we need to turn that long-term plan into a short-term plan to get the game relevant for 1 year, then 2 years, then 3 years, then 4 years.
Yeah.
But the long-term plan of relevance is scaling this stuff up and making it, improving it, making it better, making multi-crew gameplay better, making your ship more personalized. All these callers, most of them have been great. I don't want to say all, sorry. But...
Whoa.
I told you I'm the worst one.
You're referring to yourself.
Yeah. Everyone's touched on good things. There's been some guys here who've come up a lot of great stuff, that more personalization, more gameplay, but I want more gameplay faster. Okay. So that's what I'm saying.
I think I was hoping somebody would get to this point, and I kind of joked at it earlier, is definitely one of the ways for them to stay relevant longer is to get relevant faster.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying, obviously patches and stability. That's
but
obvious,
that little gameplay thing with the cargo idea doesn't seem something that is years away. That seems like something that if they were like, if someone's listening and they heard you say that and suggested it, like, I don't know if Christian's here, but Christian is right behind, a major game designer for the game. He shares that and was like, "Ooh, this was a good idea. Maybe something like that can happen in the near future," right? That's why we do these things, is to give the backers a voice, and the backers have a voice in this game, and the devs do listen.
Yeah.
So yeah. But all right, I'm gonna leave you here. We're gonna do the outro, and I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm actually gonna share what next week's topic is gonna be. So. Ponut, thank you so much for your call. I think you made a really good point, and I'm glad we got to it. It took until the last call, but we finally got to one of the points
Yes.
I wanted to make as well.
Twerk.
All right, man. Good call, man. Not the worst call. Obviously, IDD was the worst call. All right. Guys, I wasn't sure how this topic was going to go. I really wanted to make sure that I rounded it together into the what kind of gameplay elements you wanted to go into. And I think a lot of people had a lot of really good points, and we had a lot of really good calls. I was really, really happy with it. So for next week, we will do a topic, and it's from Gabriel Reg. He's in Twitch chat right now, and he may be in the YouTube comments sometimes. I'm not sure. It will be, is Star Citizen too immersive? That'll be the question. And then he also says, realism can sometimes make playing a game too much of a hassle. What's your take on it? So can Star Citizen be too immersive, right? So that's going to be next week's conversation. So think about that topic for next week. Thank you, Gabriel, for that. This week's topic was from Newire, so very good topic as well. I don't come up with these topics myself, guys. We have a Discord. That Discord is linked in the YouTube description as well as in Twitch chat by typing in !Discord. For those of you guys watching on YouTube, this is done live every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern. On twitch.tv/Torque17. For those of you guys on Twitch that are just popping in, I do post this on my YouTube channel on Torque17 Gaming on YouTube, and you guys can catch this later on in the evening today, probably, because it takes a little while to get it up because it's a long video. And yeah, so for those of you guys that liked this type of content, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more Answer the Calls, and hopefully some guides to Star Citizen in the future, because I'm going to have a little more time because I'm changing jobs. Excited about that. And leave a comment below. What is your way of keeping Star Citizen relevant for 10 plus years, but keep it in the gameplay elements? And let's try to avoid the subscription model conversation as much as possible, even though I know it's going to be all over the place. All right. So guys, thank you so much to all the callers. As always, thank you Sunday, Zeus, Kazu, and if our new moderator Selby was here, for helping with getting the callers into the queue. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, everybody.